Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Well, buddy, you've been doing this show for long enough, buddy. How are you?
I'm not the one spending all my time in Philadelphia. Jesus.
Philly was actually good, Mike. It was the best. It was the best expo I've been to, for sure. It was the
It
best
looked
expo I've
it
been to.
looked like it. I thought a couple of exhibitors thought maybe the traffic was down just a little bit, but as far as excitement and involvement, all the players being there was great. Everybody hanging around the booths really made it interesting.
Yeah,
I thought that that was the first time in years that I was kind of watching the posts and seeing the action and thinking, man, I would love to be there. It's like you know,
yeah.
it's like a big reunion type of thing where you don't have, there was a tournament there, but it was mostly about the expo, right? Even for the players.
Yeah. For me, I mean, the tournament was an afterthought, and the buzz really
Yeah,
was on the floor. I mean, the tournament is what it is. It's this year in particular, like to what you were saying, it was better from a quality of field standpoint. There were some
yeah,
interesting opinions about the event. Whenever I was looking on social media, as there always is with it. But for me, I mean, the star was for sure the expo, the floor, the vendors,
yeah,
the players who were engaging, just the brands that were out there, the brands who weren't there. It was good energy, man. And to your point, as far as the crowd, the vendors would know more because obviously they're checking it out from their number standpoint, things like
yeah.
that. But it looked pretty decent, Mike. I mean, even Thursday, whenever I showed up, man, I was surprised.
Yeah,
Like
no, that the
Thursday
couple
is
that
the
I
coasting day.
the couple that I talked to said, listen, no complaints. I mean, it's always a great event. But a couple of them said, like last year, there were no lulls at all. Never got to breathe. And
Yeah,
this year, it seemed like to them there was a little bit more. Now, maybe more booths, having more engaging, you know, setups and/or people in the booth kept people from moving around more.
yeah,
But who
fair.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's real fair. I mean, you saw crowds all over the place, whether it was at Jay's booth, the Q-Tech booth. Right behind Jay's booth was the Lucasi booth. You had the Viking booth there,
Federer
and
had a
there was
booth.
Federer had a booth. Yeah, and there was a lot of places with like they gave you reasons to show up. Even Alex's new booth, because that was the biggest
Yeah,
footprint that I've seen him have out at any show to this point. So I mean, it was cool. Like it gives me hope and encouragement, enthusiasm for where the pool world is. To see all the fans out there was super dope, and just seeing a lot of smiles, a lot of like positivity from people, and so including listen, saw Matchroom out there. Surprisingly enough, Max Gordon's
yeah.
in the
What
chat
was that
from
all about?
Living Good. Which about Matchroom being out there?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, it was weird, man. Let me tell you. So one, you 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 may not know this, Uncle Mike, but I may not be on the best on footings with Team Matchroom. And I know
Yeah,
that
you're
comes from.
dragging me down with you. I just got to tell you, just for not for nothing, but
Oh, am I?
I
Well, that's just
don't
listen.
even get any return calls anymore.
There's casualties of war, buddy. Sometimes you know what I mean. So
Collateral
it's just
damage.
yeah. It's nothing intentional though. Yeah, it was. I saw so obviously they got some new partners, which I hear they're going to have another new partner to announce here pretty soon. A pretty big one actually. That's like pretty fundamental in the pool world. But nevertheless, they obviously got new partners with CPBA, and so they were out there as well. Had their own
Yeah,
booth, and I had heard ahead of time that they were going to be out there, and then. Of course, I don't remember if it was CPBA's post or Matchroom's post saying that they were going to be out there as well. And I was kind of surprised. I didn't, it's interesting to me. Emily was there last year just to like go take her selfies with everyone, around the arena. This year, them kind of partnering up, it seemed like with the booth space with them, they had their team out there, capturing some social media contact or content, pushing some events that they had coming up, like the Florida Open, things like that, pushing the Q-Tech booth, which is kind of ironic. And I thought it
pushing.
was a little bit odd because it was like you're there hanging out at the international booth, which
Yeah,
international is partnering with CPBA, or they're one and the same along with Maury. So you're at the international booth basically, but then you're pushing Q-Tech products. It seems like a conflict of interest to me. But anyway, yeah, it was just it was really odd, and I got that from a lot of people. Obviously, I have my own opinion about it just because of the history there. But even like some fans I was talking to, them walking around with like QR codes and hustling
Buy
people.
tickets to buy tickets to go to the event, or were they also
Yeah, yeah, they
different
were shaking
players
down people to go
playing
and
the
to
event?
they were shaking down people to go and buy tickets for the Florida Open. I'm not even kidding. Like they would literally go up to you with the camera on, putting you on the spot, and I was just like, man, that's so awkward, you know. And
You know
I don't,
what?
I
Hard
don't,
sell, man. Hard sell.
I
Sometimes you
listen. I get it. I can only imagine what that cost was, and if they can put, let's say that 10 grand towards, putting on an event. But either way, I mean, it's like, yeah, I just found it really odd, especially coming off of St. Louis, where you have a free platform, free entry, free this, free that, and where it seems like Matchroom's approach is let's just squeeze whatever little bit we can out of
know, it's
out of the pool fans.
two different models, and you can't let
Sure.
one drive your decisions on the other. I mean, if this is your model, then you go sell it. You don't try to compare yourself to PBS events, and you don't worry that St. Louis was the week before with free entry. This is your deal. You sell tickets to people in the stands, and you have a paywall. I mean, and that's
Well,
what
I'm not so sure they are selling tickets. I mean, we'll see come Florida time. You know what I mean? But if I'm and the other part about it was like I wouldn't go to Philly to go and sell tickets for a Florida event. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd go find something in Florida to sell tickets to a Florida event. Now I get reaching a
Well,
national
listen,
audience, things
you're
like
not going
that.
to
But
get anything anywhere that's as big as SPE. So
you think so?
you go where the people are. There's more pool playing fans and casual to mid range pool players at Super Billiard Expo than any place.
Yeah, but what Super Billiards Expo, I mean, sure, it'll bring a lot of buyers, but in a different market. It'll bring a lot of players, a lot of fans, I should say, but
Yeah,
majority of them are either in that part of the country or they're playing in TAP, which is
that
that
part of
league
the
out
country.
there.
It's not like you're going out to California and selling tickets for Florida. I mean, you're going out to Philly and selling tickets for Florida.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it was a little ironic. Like I said, there was parts of it where it was just a little odd to me. It was
Yeah,
funny because I was sitting down with the Salado guys, and they had their booth next to Lucasi booth. And I think so. Emily was dodging me like the plague, right? And then, uh, I, as she turns the corner, I was like in the blind spot of the booth, and she's all smiles, saying hi to Fargo Great and Salado. And then it was like, and then as soon as she realized I was there, it was like, oh, and I was like, oh, hey, nice to see you. So it was just, it was just, it was odd,
awkward.
but yeah, it was awkward for sure. It was awkward for sure. I think that there's a lot of questions that need answering. They don't want to answer anything, and I'm not gonna keep on, pushing just to kind of get told no. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
but yeah, that was their footprint there. I saw them doing some stuff with CPBA and their players as well, which was cool. And they were no shortage of filming, whether for their social media, for CPBA, for their players, and just photos in general, which is cool. And it's good to
Yeah.
promote brands who are supporting you, which I completely get and vibe off of. But yeah, that's why I was surprised they were out there, especially like I said, given the history of it. I mean, they've historically, like I know now they're a WNT event, but there was times before where like they got scheduled on top of by Matchroom, in years
Yeah,
past.
right.
So it's a little odd.
I just thought it
But
was interesting that they brought three people out there. I mean, that's a big, you
yeah, it's a
know,
big nut.
it is a big nut. Yeah, big
To
nut.
it,
So, yeah,
I mean, three people just from overseas, and I think there was another one from here on this side. But yeah, I mean, like I said, they understand how they want to go and spend their dollars and what their bottom line entails, things like that. So I mean,
yeah.
more power to them. I hope they go and sell out in Florida. I'm not so sure personally, but yeah, we'll see what happens come August. And not only that, but like, and I get wanting to keep it on people's radar and things like that. But trying to sell tickets so far in advance just always makes me a little concerned, if I'm being honest with you. So
Well, yeah, and I'm not trying to be devil's advocate on everything you say, but by the same token, you know, um, we always bust on them that people have to make decisions last minute to go to one of their events, whether it's players or fans or whatever.
That's fair, Mike.
Now, you've got opportunity to tell people, listen, you know, you got 3 months, 4 months to get plane tickets and room reservations for Florida.
Yeah.
So, that's something to do, and you're certainly pushing the U.S. Open too. So, yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes
Sure,
of
they
it. I
had a
mean,
plan
hopefully.
before they got on the plane. It wasn't just a wing and a prayer.
Yeah, I mean, like I could understand more on the pushing the brands who are supporting the aspect. You know what I mean? More than anything, like I said. But yeah, I mean, trying to hustle tickets, it just seems a little, uh, a little odd. And there was no shortage of branding, no shortage of like, we're here, come look at us, come hang out. And so, but they were just one of many. They weren't more prominent than the other. There wasn't a whole lot of
Yeah,
like wow factor there. The stars of the show were all the booths collectively. You know what I mean? All the vendors there collectively, and it was cool seeing a good mix of whether you're looking and there's like this everyone tries to recreate the wheel, right, and has all these new branded products, but it's the same old thing. There was very few things that I thought were really innovative and a new twist on things.
yeah,
But the ones that were there, I was certainly glad I was there to be able to check it out in person. I love seeing the custom cue makers. I love
yeah,
seeing some of these companies come from overseas, and so yeah, it was just good, man. It was good. Thursday was dope. Friday was busier than Thursday. Saturday was like, I feel like the crowd ended earlier, but like the hammer time, the 11 to 6 time was solid, and so, um, but Sunday is going to be Sunday. Everyone's just looking to break down and get the hell out of there. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
um, but I get it, man. I get it. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, Mike, like genuinely. And I saw, it was funny because I had like an early morning flight on yesterday morning, like at 2 a.m. I was flying out of Philly, or I had to go to the airport to fly out of Philly, and so I'm there at the hotel waiting for Oscar and Des to pick me up because we were going to ride together to the airport, and in walks Alan Jr. at like 3 a.m. And they were just getting done out there, and it's cool kind of seeing that generational thing, with father and son, and they're hard working, busting ass.
yeah,
People don't see what they do in the background, but they really make a quality event for a lot of fans to be able to go and enjoy here in the U.S. And they make it like they do their own twist um, on just bringing a unique vibe to the pool world, which is dope. So I appreciate
yeah. No,
Alan for
they
having me out there.
this is like 30 years, right? I mean, this is uh, you know, pretty amazing stuff what Alan has pulled off, and what started, as a completely different type of show.
Did it,
Uh,
Mike?
yeah, it was really different. It was more pro centric. It was boosts as a side thing. There weren't as many. All the amateur events weren't tied into it. It was at the Meadowlands in Jersey, and yeah, see where it's come from there. I mean, all credit to Alan for sticking with it, just taking it as his own, and just running with it and turning it into something unique to the pool world. There's nothing else out. Derby kind of it's kind of between
It's not like Derby, Mike. It's not.
it's
It
it's
really isn't.
between Derby, the BCA trade show, and I don't know what else. It's unique. It's a whole
It's very
different.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
The,
it's between all that and like the APA, worlds and things like, you take all of those and kind of mix them up in a bowl, and you end up with the Super Billiard Expo, which has been
yeah.
insanely successful. And I think a lot of people had already thought for years, and I don't remember whether he actually tried it once or not. I know they considered it many times, was doing an SBE West and trying to
Yeah, that'd be
create,
cool. I'd imagine the cost would be through the roof depending on where you got it at, but I would love that idea for sure. You know?
to find something. I mean, listen, cost is not cheap in the East Coast, in the Northeast. So
Yeah.
Philly's no bargain. You just have to find the right place, but you have to be around enough players. And at this point, I'm just not sure that Alan and Alan Jr. want to double their workload, no
Sure.
matter what the payday is. So yeah, but they've got something that's unique, and good for them for being able to create that and keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's had its like ebbs and flows, especially like post COVID, as far as, what was going to be the turnout, who was going to keep on coming back, all these things. And I was there like post COVID whenever the event came back. And like I said, this was for me the best event yet. On your note of like having it spread out or something on the West, I would really enjoy something like in a different part of the year because you got everything at the beginning part of the year. You got Derby at the beginning, you got CSI at the beginning, you got now you got Philly at the beginning. You got a lot of events. Now you got APA, the first of APA coming up this month as well,
Yeah,
out there in Vegas. So like it's a lot for the first quarter. There's nothing really on the back end here in the States, but yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe it'll inspire someone to kind of get the wheels going, which there's always going to be an opportunity. I know there's a lot of stuff already going on and planned as it is on the calendar, and so we'll see how that shapes out. But there was a pro tournament going on, which I did not get a whole lot of experience with, even though I was there and had access there and all those things. Talk to me what it was like, Mike, being able to sweat the tournament from being back at the house.
yeah, no, it was good. It was nice to be able to tap into the live streams and watch, the tables. It was like one camera action, which that's still fine. You get to see what's going on there, and really, you know, always you can always leave it to Super Billiard. I think they still call it the Rally in the Valley part of it, don't they?
Yeah, 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 they do.
Valley
Yeah,
was
I've
a
seen that plenty.
specific part of one of the
Yeah.
amateur groups league systems. But anyways, um, uh, you know, their pro event has always been quirky. It's always had
Sure.
some twists and turns that don't make any sense or whatever. And I've always argued that they really the pro event is probably the lowest on their priority list. For SBE every year, kind of a necessary evil to have to put up with, and it
Yeah.
shows a lot of times in the way they produce it. So this year didn't look bad though. I mean, they actually had carpet on the floor, which is an improvement over some previous years, and the format was they actually mixed in the one loss people with the winners play
Finally. Fucking
winners.
finally.
Instead of having winners play winners and losers play, it was just ridiculous. But then now you had a cut to 64, right? But you're only paying through 32. So you're single elimination at 64, but you don't get paid until you reach 32. So the
That's
guy from
odd
the
to me,
winning
Mike.
side who lost in the round of 64 had one loss and got a donut. And the guy who won in round of 64 and lost in round of 32 had two losses and got 1,000. So
Yeah.
it just kind of, it just was another one of those things where it's just like, sometimes you wonder whether they actually think the thing through, or they just say, whatever, let's just do this. And everybody's just got to fade it because this is our rule.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like one, they opened it up like multiple times I heard to
Yeah.
like accommodate more players, which is great. And I was a little skeptical whenever I heard this because historically, like they've always been running behind in their events. Like I mean, it's
Well, in
always
their
it's
defense, the whole event is pretty short. It's not
sure, I mean,
it's
relative
not
to
a week
others, but then
long like when you
but
go to Vegas or whatever. So
yeah, but then plan accordingly. I mean, I don't want to give you a pass for that because it's like, well, then you should budget. You should know how many players based off of how
well,
many
then actually they
tables you
probably
can be able to
shouldn't have
accommodate.
expanded. Then they probably shouldn't have expanded the field.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was saying.
But there were a
And
lot
so,
of good players who got in at the tail end of that. So it's kind of
yeah,
a, it's kind of a, pick your poison.
yeah. And look, it was cool being able to sweat stuff. I know part of it, or I know they had scheduling going along with that. When I walked in there, one, I enjoyed the digital pool part of it because people can buy to be able to sweat like multiple tables, which is great. And especially in this new age that we're in, there's a lot more tournaments that are going that route to be able to give you like the most access possible, which is awesome. The other thing is, I know Frank and BSN were doing like their YouTube stream, but then it was odd because then I still saw like WNT posts, but then it's like, why the fuck would I pay $10 if like I can watch TV table for free on YouTube? It just, I don't
Yeah.
understand that, or pushing that at the same time. Um, Quality of field for sure was different, Mike. I mean, compared to last year, I was on a
Yeah.
flight in the morning with Albin and Yap and I forget who else, but obviously it was the guys who went deep in St. Louis. But yeah, it was just it was great to see those guys there. Albin had said, "Yeah, I've never been there before," and it was funny because on the back end when I seen the social media post, he was like, "I'm never going back there again." And so I was like, "Wow, fuck, what happened?" You know. But I know the conditions aren't necessarily the best historically. The tournament was a little like, so let me just frame it for you. I walk in and it's like any other, expo tournament, right? Same setup, same this, same that,
Yeah,
all these things. And then, but I see these the walkway in the middle was a good addition because I appreciated that because you can get more seats in there. You're still paying to get in there if you're a fan, so you're paying to get in the expo and then you're paying to get into the pro arena. Um, which I would kind of like them just to kind of charge one thing and let everyone have access. It would make for more flow.
yeah,
Like even if you're charging an extra buck or two to everybody, I'd rather do that than to pay an extra $20 a day to get in or whatever it is. And
yeah.
so, but that's their event, whatever. Um, and so the other thing was that I walk in there and there's dudes with headsets on in the middle, standing there, and I was like, "What are they doing?" Like, like I don't understand what these guys are doing. Come to find out, which I learned at the end of the day, talking at the end of the event, talking with the tournament director, they were what they called spotters. And spotters are when they see a table being finished, they tell the tournament director the table 13 is open, whatever. But in my head, I'm like, you have digital pull for that because they're keeping live scoring. And once they reach the threshold, it automatically sends a signal to the tournament director that this table's open. So then you can call the next match. And I'm assuming these guys were getting paid. And if they were, listen, good for them for getting some money. But I mean, goddamn, there wasn't a better use of resources for that because the electronically it tells you don't have to have a guy there on his feet for 13 hours a
They may
day
have just,
letting
yeah,
you
who
know.
knows? They may have just thought when they opened up to 178, they're really going to have to hustle people in and out. And so you have people on site that can just like go grab some by the ear and drag them over to the arena or something. Who
Sure,
knows?
sure, yeah,
But
but
yeah, I mean, just there's always something
yeah,
different going on there with their event. I mean, listen, 178 players, killer monster field,
sure,
12,000 added.
sure.
Okay,
I mean,
that's
you
okay.
know,
It is what it is. It is
I
what it
tell you what,
is.
I could have give me an extra day there. I could have shaken down another 5 grand from vendors that were out there. You know what I mean? Just from walking around the floor.
I mean, that
Um,
said, that said, the payout distribution for the top 32 seemed to be pretty decent.
I,
Uh,
I'm with
but,
you though,
but
Mike, and I saw
that's
Rodney's.
based on 32, and you went from 128 to 170 something.
Mike,
So
but you don't bring back 64 and then only pay 32 because I saw
right,
Rodney's post and I was
listen,
like, yo, that's the
believe
strangest
me, I
thing.
know.
Like,
We go through this. We go through this every year, trying to figure out the logic behind some of the stuff that goes on at the Pro Players Championship. And I've always told players, go there at your own risk because you're going to go there and you're probably going to think, it's kind of, uh, you know,
that's busting your
weird.
chops, Mike. Yeah,
I keep ducking the expo. I
I
went to,
don't get
believe me, I've been to more expos than Darren Appleton has been to. I stopped going after a while.
I
It's a little long for a couple of days. I just got back from St. Louis.
look, I don't get the not paying out part till 32. For me, and I've had this conversation with whenever I first started doing tournaments with Dez. I remember my very first tournament, Mike, to run a tournament was 184 players at the Brendan Crockett one year, and you know I didn't realize how many players that was. And even whenever we were there at like 2 in the morning, I was like, "Yo, let's just go home. Bring these guys back tomorrow." And she was like, "I don't want to bring guys back tomorrow unless they're getting paid, and I got to get down to people who are getting paid." And
Right?
I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I
Yeah.
understand that philosophy now, but at the time I didn't. But it's like, man, for an event that's been doing that shit for so long, and
Yeah.
it was just like I said, but there's whether you want to call it character or you want to have a different name for it, whatever, to each their own. It's interesting to say the least. But Mike, what I was happy about was seeing my boy Victor come up with the dub. And
Yeah.
by the way, the Polish, we've been saying it for a long time. They're here, and they
Jeez.
they came even deeper this year. And there was
Three
some
out
dudes that I didn't even know who they were, Mike, and those guys
Yeah,
were going
three
deep.
out of the final four, and you got Lopatko and you know who's the other final four guy? I can't
Feliciano was
remember.
the only non-Polish guy, wasn't he? And then
Yeah.
Dominic, right? Was his name
Oh
Jatra?
yeah,
Was that
yeah,
what?
Jack.
Yeah,
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 Jackstrom.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean those are your two other Polish players in the final four. Meanwhile, you had Martial, you had
The usual
Fortunski,
suspects.
you had all these other players. Um, One thing I got so so Jakob, he was wearing one of those gold Polish jerseys with the number on the back and his name on the back. And I
Yeah.
saw Shevchuk playing in Poland with the same jersey. What's with the Polish guys and numbers on their back? They think they're
Let
soccer players or what?
let them be, man. Should everyone buying the number 8 Kobe jersey, the number 24 Kobe jersey. Let them be. I dig it. It was different color choice than what I'm used to seeing the Poles in for sure. Actually, the Polish
Yeah,
usually look like the way you're dressed right now, Mike, in the red and white.
that's
That's how
right.
they usually
Yeah,
end up coming out
Got the Polish Eagle on
rocking.
there, and yeah,
So I'll tell you a funny story. When I was in St. Louis, there was a couple of guys that I wanted to see what they were about, and they were both Polish guys. And well, actually, one of them was a Polish guy, and it was that Dominic guy. And the reason being is because he reminded me a lot of what Arsini was last year when I was following a tournament and a couple tournaments, just seeing him like chop down big names, big names, big
yeah,
names. And I
yeah,
was like, I don't know who this dude is. So anyway, I ended up going down there and seeing him play an 8-ball match against Arsini, ironically enough, and saw maybe about a handful of racks. Was really impressed. His execution was great. Tight windows, great cue ball, really poised, very deliberate player. Had this good mix of like the boring Polish style, but that's fundamentally sound. But also being able to deliver a decent big shot when he needed to. And this was like in single elimination. And it was funny because that day I was sitting down there, and when I finally got to sweat some matches in St. Louis, and Oscar texted me, and he was like, "Hey, you know who that Umberto guy is from Poland?" He's like, I might be able to set up a game with him playing for like 10 grand." And I was like, Oscar, I'll be real honest with you. I couldn't point that motherfucker out in the lineup, man. I couldn't point him out in the crowd right now. I had no idea who he was, Mike. Until that event in St. Louis. Same thing with that Dominic guy.
yeah,
And but I tell you what, I was it just further gives me more respect for those guys and as a unit what they are, because they play great pool, Mike. I
yeah.
mean,
They do.
really
Man,
great
I don't
pool.
know what's
And
in the water over there, but they've
yeah,
been cleaning up.
yeah. I mean, it's just it really amazed me what they were able to do. Um, Obviously, Victor coming off of St. Louis, so he is in the final four of St. Louis, which is always great. We talked about him being able to
And
snap
won the
off
and won the doubles.
and won the doubles. Mike, I mean, talk about a heater.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good
But
2 weeks for the
I
kid.
texted him after the final here. I said, "Congratulations, nice trip to the U.S. You might want to think about moving over here." He said,
Hey,
"Might be a little too early for that."
look, we'll gladly adopt him. I can tell you that because he's a good kid, and I'm a big fan of Victor personally. I'm a big fan of his game. Seeing him snap off Expo, while it's not the biggest event on earth, he certainly got through a really tough field. I
Yeah,
was really happy for him, Mike, and just not for the Expo in general, but then of course for the couple of weeks that he had out here in
yeah,
the U.S.
yeah.
for sure.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah.
good to see him playing well.
Do you think this will parlay for Victor into you know living up to what we all think he will be or what he should be?
Uh, yeah, you don't know. I mean, he obviously, he commented that he had spent some time with Lely,
Lately, yeah, I saw
Alex
that.
recently, and that it really helped his game. He was really down at the end of last year. I know he also went back to a wood shaft. He said he'll never go back to
Carbon.
carbon. So, all that stuff, obviously his confidence level's really up. He's, and we all know how the players, whether it's, a self-fulfilling thing or whether it's, you've got something to really back it up. When your confidence level's up there, you play freer, you play more easily, and you're more, you know, every decision seems right and the balls go in and they play really well. And that's usually when guys do go on heaters, right? They get that, they get a couple wins and they get really confident and all of a
Then the
sudden,
dam burst, Mike.
yeah, for a while. And so yeah, I hope that that's the case with Victor. I'm still, really hopeful to see him snap off, one of the big open events this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Be great.
Look, confidence and the mental side is everything with guys when you start, picking
Yeah,
apart guys. and for better, and in Victor's case, sometimes for worse, the mental side can weigh you down quite a bit. And we've seen that over the years with him, whether seen it for body language in the arena or talking with him after the fact. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Victor. But man, like I mentioned, I was so happy to see him get that monkey off his back, and that confidence, that air about him that I haven't seen from him over the years, Mike, was there in St. Louis. I mean, it
Yeah,
was literally there. You can see it as he was making his way through tough matches, beating Carlo in a single elimination on TV table. I couldn't tell you the amount of matches that I've seen of Victor where that's where he would disappear against those type of players. But he stood tall. Don't get me wrong; it was a little dodgy getting there to finish to get across the line, but he controlled for the better part of that match, which
yeah,
is
he did.
awesome.
Played really well. Yeah, no,
They
he's it's tough for him more so than some of the other players because
He's on his own.
Victor's more of a by himself guy, right?
Yeah,
He doesn't run with a big team of people. He doesn't have his two or three best friends that he does all his traveling with, and they spend all their time talking to each other. And those friends are really good to have in these
sure.
tournament situations to talk you off a ledge, to help build up your confidence, to whatever it is. Victor kind of flies solo, and so I think that that's impacted times where we've seen him get down on himself, and it
Sure.
takes a while to get out of that rut, right? So that's why I think something like his time with Alex really helps him because Alex is really strong with the mental approach to the game as well as the physical. So again, just glad to see him working his way through all that and getting
Look,
into a good groove.
the body language while he was sitting in the chair, Mike, the way he was carrying himself around the arena, the way that he was just stalking the table. There were so many things that I've seen of the A1 elite players. And I've always thought of Victor as just being on that cusp, right? Because I want to see
Yeah,
him come through with a big signature win. It feels like it's coming. It feels like it's his time. And not only that, Mike, by the way, fake getting that doubles victory in St. Louis when everyone and their mama wanted to see Bergman and Fu
yeah,
win.
right.
That and I thought they were the heavy favorites, and the way that they won on top of it, I mean, they
He
did. I
played
want to say with
perfect.
E, they were solid, Mike, especially that
Yeah,
first set.
yeah.
So massive congratulations to Victor and all the Polish dudes. I'm real happy for them. They're always good energy. They always got a smile on
He
their
also
face.
beat he also beat Yap in Philly, didn't he?
Did he?
And, and Yap, yeah, and Yap's who took him out in the Final Four in St. Louis. So I'm sure that was a big, a nice little hurdle for him to kind of get over.
Yeah, sure, sure. I mean, listen, I want to see more of them. Obviously, for me, the real test is being able to get one of these quote unquote majors, whichever
Yeah,
tournament you want to classify that as, but for
yeah.
Victor, even though I've seen him take off whatever the Vegas Open or what, I want to see that 9 ball on tight pockets against everybody and their mom there. I know there's a lot of guys there in
Yeah,
Philly,
yeah.
but just to really kind of stamp it. But I tell you what, Mike, I'm getting that stamp ready because it seems like it's going to be this year's going to be really bright for that young man, and I'm hoping
Hope
so.
so.
To be honest with you,
Yeah,
yeah.
hope so. Yeah.
Mike, there was a lot of other stuff going on in the pool world as of late. Let me see. I sent you like a list of shit that I wanted to go and talk about, but there might have been some other social media controversy that we're going to get to here in just a second. But is there anything else you want to cover regarding Philly before we transition to the end of St. Louis?
No, no. I thought again there was a good representation in the pro event. Glad to see Victor win. Expo looked good, so yeah, I'm good with Philly.
Look, so we were there in St. Louis. I went over to Philly afterwards, but the night of St. Louis, it just thought, it was the event as a whole was phenomenal. By the way, I mean it was
Right.
just it was fun. It completely blew me away from the crowd that was there, and I know part of that's the Bergman effect. But just in general, I was like, I enjoyed it genuinely.
Yeah.
But it ended a little funky, Mike, and funky's being a little polite about it. Mike, there was a world champion that was crowned in Aloysius. Real happy for him. Real solid dude. Really enjoy his demeanor. Obviously, his execution last year was just second to none. In my opinion, he's the number one best player on the planet.
He was the best player
And,
in
and
St. Louis too.
he was, and there was a lot of guys who were close, but he was for sure
Yeah.
the man at the end. But Mike, we were there at the end of that event. We were a little bit further back, watching the end of that match to kind of get a couple things, content wise, from the players afterwards. And I remember being there and being a bit of distance away, but I was still on a good line to see that last shot, Mike. I mean, it may have been a little bit further away, but I could at least see that last shot, see him down on the ball, could see both balls. And I remember when he hit it, I remember just kind of looking over at you and giving you the side eye, and I was like, oh, I don't know. But then they started shaking hands, clapping, and I thought, okay, maybe like my distance was just, whatever, like.
It was kind of, everything was kind of delayed reaction there. It was delayed reaction by everybody in the room. And, nobody jumped up and yelled foul, and nobody,
He didn't jump up and celebrate.
Everybody started hugging each other. Everybody just started kind of clapping. And we're not going to argue that it was a foul. It's obvious now, and looking back at it, 19 ways to Sunday, that it was a foul. And so it didn't end the way it should. And that was too bad. Now, everybody's got opinions on what should have been done, who was at fault. Is Yap a rat because he knew it was a foul and he didn't say anything? Or is he lying because he said he didn't think it was a foul at first and he was waiting for the ref to call it? Or whatever it is, that's what social media wants to just kind of harp on. But, we can stop all the discussions of whether or not it was a foul, because it was clearly, not even close. It was a foul. Dr. Dave Alcitor came out with, a really good piece yesterday on his website, which really analyzed it, showed video and showed all the different angles and ball paths and things like that. And so if you watch that, you're like, yeah, there's virtually no way that it was not a foul. So let's just put that aside. That's what it is. So how do we want to approach the rest of what happened?
Well, let me ask you. Look, before we get into all this, like, I hated the fact that this is how it ended. I hated the fact that that was that dude's first world championship, and all anyone's talking about is this. But nevertheless, this is where we're at.
Right.
It's and it really was, like, for me, just I know some players weren't happy with the tables or whatever, but there wasn't a whole lot of negatives regarding the event. Mike, I want to just ask you this to start off with. My first question here was it a foul? You already sent that shit home. So whose job was it to call that foul, Mike?
It's a referee's job. I mean, that's why you have a referee there. So, if there's no referee there, you expect players to, call their own foul. If there was no referee there, Fran's standing by the table, or he's calling a referee over. He said that when I talked to him afterwards. He said, listen, if, because he had no view of it. He was right behind.
He was behind you and the referee. Yeah.
So how do they handle things? Fran said, in most cases I would have called a referee over, but there's a referee there. That's what she's there for. So
and you trust those who are there, right? As a player, like, and they're like, there's no history there. There's no like shitty reputations there, right? Like, a lot of these guys do play a gentleman's style, especially I would consider those two in that category.
Right. And so, it's I don't, not on Fran to call it, that's for sure. That's why you have a referee there, right? Now, should Yap call it on himself? If he, I try to put myself in a position of, I got 9 million things going through my head right now, trying to make the shot, win the world championship. How do I hit this? How do I hit that? See the 8-ball go in. If he thought it was pretty close. I mean, the cue ball path is what gives it away, right? But the hit itself was pretty damn close. So if I'm the player, I'm not jumping up and going, oh, fuck, I fouled. I probably would have gotten up and said, the referee didn't say anything. If you wanted to be as magnanimous as you could, you would say to the ref, you probably need to look at that, right? That would be the one thing.
As Yap, you're saying is what you're.
Yes, that would be one thing that you could do, is say, because, if you don't know 100% for sure because of everything that was going on in the moment. And he said, he paused at the end of every foul. You could tell by the look on his face. Well, he insisted that the ref didn't say anything. Nobody said anything. Nobody cheered, whatever. And part of him for a minute thought, is the tournament over, or is the race longer, or whatever? He said a lot was going through his mind.
Which I believe.
Some people wanted to call him a liar on that. That's fine. You call him whatever you want. I
can't get there personally.
I prefer to, be naive and find out later that I was wrong than to be cynical and find out later that was wrong. You know what I mean? So,
So
and he doesn't have a history of doing, this kind of shit, but he's going to point back to the U.S. Open where his
that's what I've been
Q-tip
hearing. Yeah.
touched the 9-ball. But I mean, I watched that in super slow motion. I would not have known how the hell a player knows that the 9-ball got touched in it. But anyways, that's a different story. But
Look,
long and short of it, I'm buying that he's not on the hook for jumping up and yelling foul on himself at that point. He looked at the referee. The referee doesn't call anything. You let it go. He could have said, that was really close. Are you sure? And then the referee could have decided to take a look at it or not, or just say, no, that's my call, and it's over, and it's over. That, referees, that's what they're there for. So if you're going to look at everything on instant replay, don't have the referee. If anything's close, just hit the shot and then call a timeout. We'll look at it on TV. Every sport has referees. They all make errors. There's no sport. I like the idea of guys being really honest when it's really obvious.
Sure.
But there's no other sport that does that. I mean, they say golf, but I mean, the officials aren't hovering over every shot in golf. So if you have an official over the table there, that's their job. Let them make the call. So from that side of it, I don't have a real problem. It's too bad. He even said later, in a second interview, he don't want to win that way. So there's a little tarnish on it for him too, as far as being able to celebrate properly. He didn't want that. He doesn't want that.
No.
So, if you're Fran, they talked. Fran said in New Jersey, but he didn't say what they talked about, or he didn't want to get into it. That's fine. I appreciate that and totally respect that.
I heard he was honest. About how he felt about it, which good for him. Good for Fran.
Who, Fran?
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard that he was
Well, what was he honest? What was he honest about?
Like I don't know the specifics, but I'm assuming it was that he thought it was a foul and he didn't appreciate.
Yeah, no, I don't. There's no doubt that he thought it was a foul.
Yeah.
Does he hold it against Yap, or is he?
I think a lot of players do, Mike. I think a lot of listen. We were so, like I mentioned to start this conversation, we were there, right? And I had a pretty good line on the ball. Obviously, I wasn't as close as the referee, wasn't as close as Yap, wasn't as close as those people who were standing in front of me. But it did look a little funky. Now, to your point about, everything going on in the moment, that's a real deal thing. Adrenaline, emotions, the uncertainty of it, all those things I completely buy and get, and it makes sense. It's a fucking world championship winning ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his first world championship at that. Sure, it's unfortunate, but what was odd to me was that as soon as that happened, right? Pause, celebration, kind of. I was talking to some players immediately after, and they, as soon as they're walking in, were like, "Yo, that was a foul," and I was like,
"Yeah, right."
Shit, and I look over, and there's some other notable within that event that were like, "Yeah, it was a foul," and that's whenever me and you brought up YouTube, and we're trying to watch it there while they're doing the podium stuff.
Yeah.
But I turned on. I wanted to leave. My philosophy was I wanted to leave it alone at the time because let's just celebrate it, and then we can go and dissect it later after the fact.
Yeah, you're not going back to replay it, so just be done.
Yeah, I turn on social media. The first thing I see, Mike, is the Killer Fillers page with the video talking about was this a good hit or not. Now, listen, I love bringing up talking points with your fans and engaging and all these things, Mike. I love that, and I love that more players are doing that. But given the history, if I'm the Fillers, that may not be the conversation that I want to start because there's been a lot of times over the years that we've seen video evidence of Josh hitting the ball that he didn't call a foul on himself and that they just let play on. And it's kind of that unwritten rule amongst players, like, hey, nobody's shitting on the other one publicly.
Okay. Here's what I'd say about that. Yes, if it's all right for them to post it because it was a foul. Okay. Now, if he's judging against Yap for not calling it on himself right away, then there's a little bit of a disconnect there, right? Because and part of my point is that if Josh told you, okay, I look back at that match people are talking about, and yeah, it does look like I fouled, but I didn't think I fouled at the time. Are you going to call him a liar? And that's the whole thing. It's everybody's got this thing where all players, they have to know that their cue touched the ball. They have to know that the ball hit this one first. They have to know that so anybody who ever argued or acted like who shot John when someone called a foul on him
Come on,
was a
man.
liar.
Come on.
Is that what you're saying? That everybody was a liar who said that they didn't, and so I'm saying just you have to treat everybody the same way.
Yeah, look, I found that at worst to be a little ironic, and especially given how like there's been plenty of guys, and Josh is one of them, where like when that shit happens, they take the worst of it, and then they end up, like hiding away about certain things. You know what I mean? But then in reality, they don't want to own up to it in the moment, neither. But then calling somebody else out is like, God damn, really? Like that's what you're gonna do? And don't get me wrong, I love players having opinions. For better or worse, Mike, I love it. And at least putting their fucking name behind it and being
Like I
able to say
said,
it.
like I said, if the post was "Yep, cheated," then I got
Okay,
a problem. If
I
the
get
post
it.
from
I
the
get it.
Steelers is "Was this or wasn't it a foul?" Doesn't matter who they're talking about or what the situation was or whatever. It was a key part in the game, and they're going to throw it out there. Was this a
Fair
foul?
enough.
So it wasn't
Fair enough.
accusatory. It was just,
Oh,
look
they was
at this,
fucking
what happened.
teeing it up for the spike, Mike, is what it was. They were setting that shit up as about as good as it can be. Yeah. Look,
It got a lot of action.
Oh, it got a lot of action, buddy. I mean, I haven't seen. Listen, I love talking points in sports, and you see it in every single sport, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on any sports talk show regarding after an NBA game, after an NFL game, after everything. Sometimes and even in games with a lot more money and a lot more technology, you'll still have these things that go and happen. And our sport's not above that. And this whole gentleman's philosophy of that's how you should play the game. Look, I'd rather not be cynical in the moment, like you said, and give the guy the benefit of the doubt. And don't get me wrong, having interacted with Yap over the years, I'd imagine you wish you could take it back. I'd imagine you wish you could handle it differently.
I imagine he does. Imagine you wish. At that point, I think he would roll the dice on Fran getting that game and breaking and see if he still wins.
Mike, do they have challenges there at PBS on TV table? Do you know?
I don't know if they do or not. That's a really good question. I don't know if they do or not. So, and like I said, Fran was not in any position to challenge. The referee, a couple of things on the referee. I thought she was really in a bad spot. She wasn't.
What do you mean? Like physically or like figuratively on social media?
No, physically in a bad spot. I didn't think she was really nearly close enough to see what was clearly going to be a close hit. And then she didn't make any, thing after that. So that said, all this social media stuff about how pool referees suck and they shouldn't, no ref, every sport, even the sports where refs get paid a fair amount of money, they make mistakes. They're out of position. They miss a call. Things like that happen. So, from that standpoint, get off her back. Should she improve going forward? Should she have learned something from this? Yeah, for sure. But, it's not an inept referee.
Look, I've seen good calls. I've seen bad calls. I've seen missed calls. I've seen calls in big moments look the other way. And this is just from other sports, Mike. And I remember one year in particular, it was like a playoff game with the Saints. And it was just like this real egregious pass interference when they were like, fourth and like whatever, you know what I mean? In the red zone, and that was for the playoffs, Mike. You know what I mean? And so, listen, pool's not above shit like that be happening. Well, the referee, you're only talked about in the worst spots. And it's kind of brutal that this is like where, like, that this is where it comes up getting talked about. But that's kind of part of the job to some degree as well. Being able to, in the moment, maybe she was like, and was unsure and didn't want to be the one to say, even though that's your job to be the one to say, like that was a foul whenever you weren't 100% sure, but you're in that spot because you have to, for better or worse, be able to make that call. And I get nobody wants to make that call on a world championship ball and then be wrong, but I'd rather be wrong in the moment and go back to a review versus look the other way, and then all this should happen after the fact. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of parties involved that wish they could handle things differently.
Yeah,
at this point, I mean, obviously it is what it is because the event's over, done with. Yap's an 8-ball world champion. And by the way, listen, I'm of the team. I saw that a lot of that match, Mike. I don't think Fran was coming back. The score was 10-4. Who knows what would have happened. But I want to ask you this. Do you think that it would have changed the outcome, given where they were at in that
I'm not
match?
the odds are probably not, but I'm not going to say it couldn't. I mean, we've seen,
we saw Carlo run the set out.
In that match, Fran was breaking dry left and right.
A lot.
Okay,
so a lot. Yeah.
If they call that foul, it's 9-5. He's got to break and run 5 times.
Well, listen, not hell with that. All you got to do is win 2, and at 9-7, it's a whole new game. 9-7 is the heat's on, the pressure's on, all these things.
You're still the one breaking every game. Yep was done breaking. It was winner break. Yep was never going to break again. So it was up to Fran to break and win all those racks. Could he do it? Sure. Likely, not really. But
not the way that match was going.
There's no guarantees on any of it. So it's kind of, I don't even like going there with the conversation because
it's a brutal side of it because you never know. And weirder things have happened in pool and in sports in general. So like he could have, unlikely, but he very well could have. And listen, Fran's an 8-ball world champion in his own right. So certainly he can figure out. And he's done it on those tables, by the way, as well, to the other side of that conversation that I'm having right now. Look, it was the conversations are fair because of being able to watch it after the fact. Yeah. And so Yap's got to live with that. But at the same time, like I can also give that benefit of the doubt of saying, listen, maybe he wasn't 100%. He waited to kind of see what was going to happen. It didn't happen. So then he just, enjoyed winning his first world championship. I think that at the very least, there ought to be some kind of like, hey, let's have one kind of challenge per match, if nothing else, one official one where you can, whether you're protesting or whatever, because immediately after, when they're doing the thing, like when they're celebrating all these things, like Fran was very much made aware after the fact that it was pretty much a foul. You know what I mean? Like not soon thereafter. And that was a big match, Mike. I mean, it wasn't a $10,000 difference. That was a fucking 40,000. That was big money.
Big difference. Yeah. No, that's challenges. I think if there was a challenge in there, maybe Fran's not sitting back where he's sitting watching the shot because you can't challenge unless you've got an opinion. The referee's not going to challenge it for you. And you don't know whether you can tell the referee at that point, if you're indecisive, go to the replay. You hate to put the celebration on pause because you need to go check a replay, but you have to try to look at different options of what would have made that go better.
This to me right here, Mike, is way too much. I would do one challenge a set. And here's the thing: even for everyone wanting to throw shade on Yap, even if you were to have a challenge per set, listen, I've seen plenty of games, Mike, as a degenerate gambler, where the team has a challenge, the coach wasted the challenge and lost one, and then there's another one which is a questionable call, and now they can't challenge it because they're out of it, and it could have very well have been a game changing thing after the fact. Even with sports with a lot more technology than what we have in the pool world, so like it's never gonna be this perfect system because that's part of the chaos that is sports, Mike, in general.
Yeah, no, listen, it is. So again, I'll come back to it. The only thing that bugs me about this whole thing are the sanctimonious comments about, he knew and he didn't call it. Okay, because every player knows where the cue ball goes. Every player knows whether his tip touched something. Every player knows whether the shaft of his cue touched something. Every player knows, that they're either liars or they call it on themselves. And that's the part that bothers me. And it's not just about Aloysius because we all like him and he is a nice guy. I hate when they do that to all the players all the time. It's just always this inference that it's always this cynical approach, and we get it all the time, and that's what bothers me.
Look, I think that's just part of the give and take, or the just the beauty and the misery that is social media. Look, at the end of the day, I'm real happy Yap won, and I think he was the best player out there. And I think he is the best player on the earth, for that matter. I don't think he's the best all around player because he don't play one pocket or banks, but he's the best rotation player or other A ball, I guess in this case as well. But even A ball is real gaffy and it could have gone the other way anytime. But I'm happy for him. I'm glad he got his world championship, and I'm really impressed with Fran for making it to the final, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of cleaner games in there where Yap was just not going to be denied, in my opinion. The other thing, especially in the moment, that made me think that maybe there wasn't a foul from being there live was that he never really seemed too concerned about it, and so he didn't try to break it up or whatever. So there was like that part of it kind of got into my psyche as well in that
Well,
spot
then,
as I was watching live.
like I said, I saw Dr. Dave's video, and he made the shot legally several times in a row. There was a way to make that shot legally, and pocket it. And that's where you could see the different cue ball pass. So, I'm sure he knew, going into it that there was, he could have made that legally. And if he thought he did or didn't thought he didn't, he says he thought he did. I'm going with that.
Nobody wants to win like that, especially especially in a world championship type match. And I get it wasn't hill, and I've seen that argument. Well, it was only this. I get it, but like
No,
nobody wants to win like that. Nobody wants that kind of cloud over which that kid has a lot of promise, a lot of promise and a lot of potential, and he's already living up to a lot of it and has been for the last 8-10 years,
yeah.
but like that kind of it sucks that's the cloud. Either way, he's a great player. To me, he's a fucking
Yeah,
world champion.
and we all know that 6 months from now, the cloud's not there. It goes away. No one's going to say, no one's going to talk next year about how it should have had an asterisk. No one's talking about last year's U.S. Open like it should have had an asterisk. So, it's in the moment, and it'll go away, and he'll just be able to celebrate his world championship.
Look, even whenever we first were there and we had a pretty good indication that it was a foul whenever we first saw the footage.
Yeah.
Even I wasn't 100% sure. And there's plenty of games in the moment. I mean, obviously after the fact's different because you got all the slow mode and all. I get it, but even being able to bring up what their live feed was in a minute after was still a little. Was it? What? And I've seen plenty of things where watching it on TV in different sports, like, oh, it went out of bounds off that guy, but there's got to be this irrefutable evidence. I don't know if it would have gone one way or the other or changed rather in the moment, Mike. You know what I mean?
The evidence here for the people who really know the game and
the cue ball path is
this like Dr. Dave is cue ball path, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's again, you look at the shot video and it's pretty damn close. So,
do you think, I mean, obviously he's an aware young man. He's got a social media presence. How do you think he responds to this with this play on the table and things like that, Mike?
I think that he knows that he owes an explanation to Fran about what he really was thinking at the time, which I think they talked about. And that's pretty much it. He doesn't owe me shit. And so I don't look at him as dodging it because that for a guy like that, if whatever he puts out there,
it ain't gonna be good enough.
It ain't. It's gonna get twisted. It's gonna get ragged on by half the people.
That's how people are gonna take it anyway.
You never did it, right?
Right.
So if I'm him,
which is unfortunate,
I just move on. I talk to Fran. I talk to any other player, any contemporary that want to talk to me about it, and I tell them what I think and what I really feel. And if they want to believe me, fine. If they don't, no big deal. Move on. But do I go on social media? Not a chance in the world. There's no upside.
Look, I was a fan of him yesterday. I'm a fan of him today. I'm going to be a fan of him tomorrow. That's just the way that I'm going to go and take it. I enjoy watching him play all games personally, and I'm going to continue to. I still got the utmost respect for him, as I do a ton of players. Even talking shit like bringing up the Fielders comparison at the beginning. I still got a lot of respect for them as well. And shit happens, and it's a part of all sports, and that's just the way that I take it. You never know if you're a friend. It's kind of shitty winning a world championship and having that be the discussion. If you're to me, it kind of it'll balance itself out at the end of the day. The record books will be what they will be, Mike. So
Yep.
and this is cool. On the note though of the event itself, listen, I loved the World 8 Ball. It was nothing was off limits. Nothing was off from happening. I mean, anything that could happen would happen, including a perfect set. Like, it had it all for me, Mike, and I really thoroughly enjoyed watching that event. The fans there in St. Louis were just class and fun and enjoying it and having energy and clapping and celebrating and just all these things, Mike. They had fans with signs out there, you name it. It was really cool. I enjoyed St. Louis quite a bit, and I would gladly go back there next year, if I'm being honest with you.
So does the perfect set mean you like winner's break in 8-ball?
Yeah. 100%. I'm on team winner break. I'm on team. Listen, if you don't like it, don't play. But I like seeing cool things happen in sports. That was a rare feat what Carlo did. I wish that we had enough finances in the industry, or to be able to give that bonus, because that's rare would happen. Even though 8-ball would probably be the most likely of games that it would happen in. But yeah, I still thought it was dope, man. Give the guy an extra 10 grand if for winning that or whatever, because that's just I like that better than what was that thing that Matchroom did, which I enjoyed in the moment with that Robbie one. Wasn't it like the most breaking runs or whatever? Like
and it happened like on the first day of the tournament. It was like an 8-day tournament.
Yeah. It was, and it
wasn't a lot of excitement there.
But you never know, right?
No, you're right. But yeah, I think you want to, if you're going to come up with a big bonus like that, you want it to be. I mean, bowling, they do the 300 game on TV, right? If you're in a televised match, you roll a 300. You used to get like 50 or 100, whatever. I think now it's like 10 or 15. But you've got things like that. Try to make it a little more something big at the end when everybody's watching, not a first round match at table 13.
Well, good prize money out there for the players. Good bang for their buck as far as value on the money for being able to play in multiple events. And I think they're really onto something with that model that they're doing. And I wish, while it's two different philosophies, I wish you could have more of that on the Matchroom side of things, because there's something to it, and I feel like it's working for them, at least at this point. So, and I know it hadn't always historically, but it seems like they've settled on a place where it has. And I'm excited to see.
They've got a really good formula going right now, and it seems like all the players are pretty much accepting of it and behind it, and just kind of rolling with it. Whether it's races to 4, winner breaks, loser, whatever, they're just going with it. It's good opportunities, nicely run events, and good payouts. So the players are, it took a couple of years, but they're on board.
For sure. Anyhow, Mike, I'm gonna get out of here because I'm gonna go and get some lunch. You got anything else?
Yeah, you need some sunscreen, bro.
Dude, am I getting red? Because I've been here under the sun for a minute. Am I?
Starting to light up, man.
Am I? All right. Let me get the hell out of here. I'm heading inside, gonna pack up. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm gonna be doing a lot more shows coming up as well. Got a lot of fun stuff coming up. I gotta give away some free product as well, Uncle Mike. So I gotta decide, or we gotta figure out a way to do that. So keep your notifications on. We got more stuff coming up in the coming days. Appreciate every single person I saw out there in Philly and in St. Louis. There was a ton of fans out there, which was great. That appreciate the stuff we got going on. And so I'm genuinely thankful and appreciative of that as well. So anyhow, go enjoy the rest of your day, Mike, and we'll see all you guys and gals a little bit later.
All right.
All right, now let me see if I can end this thing. My computer might be a little hot right now.
What else you want to talk about? As long as we're still live.
Hold on. Yeah, we're still live, even though I'm hitting the end stream button. Oh, hold on.